Welcome back, Bravehearts. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, all over the world. And here is Jim Gale, and we're at Food Forest Abundance. And you better buckle up because he's going to smoothen out your ride.
Thank you, Dr. Wolf. We are here in St. Cloud, Florida, at our off-grid community called GALE's Landing. And we produce all of our own food, all of our own water, and all of our own energy on site. The flag that you see behind me was flown over the United States around the Civil War time. It's called the Civil Peace Flag. This flag represents what we are all about. We are all about peace and service to our community at scale. So we are designing and installing these food forests, these off-grid communities all over the world. And each one of them become not only an incredible place to live, which will show you what a food forest is all about, but a place of abundance for the community. It's like a nursery. In fact, I'll give you an idea. Right here, this little area here, these plants that we planted, these are sweet potatoes. And we've got moringa coming up. And this is outside of the gates of our community. Why? Well, because we are in the midst of a food supply chain collapse. And if we're the only ones who have an abundance of food, that is not food security. There's going to be people coming here that want to feed their kids. So sweet potatoes are one of the many crops that are easy to propagate, nutrient dense, and really easy to grow. So we're helping our neighbors grow food. Food security, my friends, is when everybody eats. When there are people in the world that are starving, then we must help feed them. And guess what? It's easier than you can imagine to have a food forest. In fact, everything we know, everything we've been taught about growing food through our colleges and universities is wrong. It's a lie. The 890 million acres of farmland in the United States alone, if all we did were to transform our land, our lawns in our suburbs, our 50 million acres of lawn, if we transform 60% of that into edible, regenerative permaculture landscapes, or some might like the idea of the Garden of Eden, then that land, that 890 million acres of mostly destroyed soil and farmland would go back to nature. And not just any nature, but it would be so abundant with food that we could literally, the narrative of overpopulation is a lie. We could feed 20 billion people just off that land alone, right? So this is what we're demonstrating to the world. In fact, Victor Hugo said there's one thing stronger than all of the armies of the world, and that is an idea whose time has come. Nature, God, using our resources wisely is that idea. So come on, follow me to GALE's Landing here.
So everybody understand something when it comes to health, wealth, the spirit, everything is a lie. And just think how well you're doing, even though most of you feel like you're kind of locked in a little bit of hell. Just think if you were the master of your own mind, your own body, and nobody created the prominent, dominant beliefs that run your life.
That's exactly right. We must stop this belief in authority. We must be the authors of our own story. His story is a lie, my friends. So now let's take authorship, ownership, and responsibility for ourselves. In fact, that's what this sign is all about. This sign says, warning, no trespassing. You cannot enter this property, or you can only if you have our consent to do so. And, or if you possess a valid constitutional Fourth Amendment warrant signed by a proper jurisdiction showing probable cause, right? And it talks about basically this idea that any government agent can just show up here and start using force and violence against us. That whole thing is a fraud, my friends. And we are demonstrating that. And we are inviting the good people that work in the county here and in the state and all over the world, the good people that work for the government. We're inviting them to work on the solutions and not poison us anymore. In fact, I'll say one more thing. What they will currently allow us to do and even subsidize is the use of poisons on this land. It is our job as stewards of this land to not allow that and to demonstrate what can be done. So check this out. So if you notice this area, these are all different kinds of fruit trees and food producing plants. This has only been in the ground about 10 months. So imagine this in 2 years. The mangoes and avocados and peaches and plums and pears and grapefruit. In fact, we have 40 different types of grapefruits and tangerines and oranges and lemons and limes and kumquats. Look at the size of this. Look at that. Is that amazing? Now, people say money doesn't grow on trees. Well, fiat doesn't grow on trees. Wealth grows on trees. This is life. This is nature. And inside this grapefruit, there are probably 20 seeds, right? So you can count the seeds inside this grapefruit, but you cannot count the grapefruits inside of a single seed. It's infinite. This is pure abundance, and this is how we are meant to live. Henry Kissinger, 50 years ago, said, if you want to control people, control food. Now, that isn't just the ramblings of a madman. He was the head of the Council of Foreign Relations. He's the fellow that appointed Klaus Schwab, who says you're going to own nothing and be happy. Well, I don't comply with that thought process. And this is how we change the world. Right here is when we take the poisons out, the toxins out of our system, and we grow food instead of lawns. Right? I mean, even our parking spots, these are guilds. A guild is a community of plants that support each other. This is less maintenance than a lawn. In fact, I love this area right here. This tiny little stretch of land here, maybe 40 to 50 yards long, maybe 10 yards wide. This could be a lawn. And if it was a lawn, then we would have to mow it every 10 days or so. Instead, we have 70 food-producing plants in this little area. We have a solar timer for watering, for irrigation. And at the beginning, when you first put crops in the ground, then their root system is not expanded. Their tap roots are not down. So when you first put them in the ground, you got to give them a little extra love, just like a baby. But then once they get established, then you have infinite exponential abundance forever, until somebody comes from the government and says, I'm going to cut it down, I'm going to poison it, I'm going to get rid of it. Nature has a way of balancing itself out when we recognize that one simple truth. Now, this area, you can see the solar panels, you can see this little area. This is an Airbnb area. Our intention here, and it's all about ROI. It's about return on intention. Our intention here is to bring as many people from the world as possible to see and feel and experience the frequency, the energy, the love of nature. The butterflies, the birds, the bees, the lightning bugs. We got 30 pounds of honey in our first year. I don't know much about bees, but I don't need to. The bees know about bees. Right? We plant the flowers to give them the habitat so they can produce honey, and it's absolutely delicious. By the way, on the other side of this fence, and this is a food fence. I'll show you this real quick. See the vines on top of this fence? Well, they're all multiple types of grapes and passion fruit and several other vining plants that within 3 years, you could do 500 bottles of wine off this fence. It's about a kilometer long. It's a pretty long fence. So, if you want to experience this, or better yet, if you want to grow your own food, that's what we do. I'm on a mission. I've got 4 daughters. And once I started recognizing that the science of permaculture has within it all the solutions, then I've dedicated my life to this. Well, Bill Mollison, a little story. Him and David Holmgren are the founders of permaculture. Now, permaculture is simply an agricultural design science that mimics nature, right? So it's as obvious as when you go stand in a natural system, maybe you're barefoot and you're in a forest, a thriving, living forest. You take a breath and you look around, you feel the energy, right? That's what permaculture is. It's designing natural systems, mimicking what's already proven. And again, this is not the hypothetical solution to mass extinction and deforestation. It's not the hypothetical solution to cancer and diabetes and heart disease and tyranny and world hunger. It's the demonstrable solution to all these things. And how do you start? You start by planting seeds. Seeds as ideas. Seeds as seeds of grapefruit trees. And there's so much BS. There's so many belief systems around what's possible. We're here to demonstrate the truth and shatter the BS that is controlling everybody's minds, right? Governmente literally means mind control. Govern is to manage, control, or steer, and mente is mind. So the first thing that we must do to be free, to have a light mente, is take a breath and be present. The present is the gift from God. I know how corny that sounds, but the present is where all the real true information is. Everything else, a lot of people are worried about the future or ashamed of the past. Let all of that silliness go. It does not serve you and it does not serve your friends, right? If you must repent, if you've done something wrong, take a deep breath and truly forgive yourself, and then take action towards joy, towards service, towards showing people and demonstrating that you care for them by serving. And here's the fun part. Service is actually selfish because it's through service that we achieve the most joy and love in our lives, right? So there's no scarcity in this model. Scarcity is the lie. Scarcity creates fear, and fear is the control mechanism of evil. And you might call evil government. There's all sorts of different ways that we perceive this. And by the way, this is kind of interesting. It's these divide and conquer techniques that we must be aware of. If anybody is supporting genocide on either side of this biblical narrative that's happening right now, then take a breath and step back from your hatred. The solution to all of this is to serve, is to provide value, and the foundation of it all is food forests everywhere. When we simply use our resources wisely and put food everywhere, then...
Just think, hey, Jim, you're walking down the street and everybody's front lawn is a food garden, okay? Understand something. Everybody goes, oh, that would be ugly. Well, no, that would be nature. That would be the true nature. You know, not everything trimmed out, you know, edged out, okay? Having nature in our front lawn, back lawn, okay? You know what? You talk about independence. Well, you'll never have independence unless you are
self-reliant. And if you're dependent, then you're not independent. Right? If you're dependent on a grid that is failing, and I mean, what's food prices? Here's one for you. What is the price of eggs and milk and the price of powering your house? What has that done in the last 3 years? Well, here it's doubled. In fact, some things have went up more than double. That is dependence on a system that is failing rapidly right now. And my friends, this is something that I've been studying for a long time now, obsessively, really, for 16, 17 years. And I am very aware that the food supply chain has already been completely corrupted. In fact, one entity pretty much controls the whole thing. And it happens to be called BlackRock, right? BlackRock is not only the name, it is the intention. And what's the opposite of that?
Light.
Okay.
What are all the trees for over there?
More trees in the ground. This whole area is going to be a food forest. We have several areas already well underway. And
those are all the Airbnbs, eh?
Yep, those are.
Guys, those are all the Airbnbs, and they're beautiful inside. They really are.
Yeah.
We should have probably went into one, but I guess there's people in them.
Yeah, they're packed.
And you see the solar panels over there, guys? Okay. So they're totally off grid as well. And then all these trees are going to be planted here, okay?
And thousands more. In fact, we do tours. I've got a tour here in another hour where people come and they pay a little bit of money to do like an hour and a half tour. But we would love to trade. If you want to come on a tour, you bring a fruit tree, that's good enough.
Yeah.
Right? You can bring some plants. You can bring your love and joy and expertise in any way. We want to and we must create a parallel economy that lets go of the current economy of fiat. Right? I love to say, fiat is the dollar. The US dollar used to be backed by gold and silver, and then in 1971, it no longer has any backing except for the confidence of the people. Right? Well, that confidence is starting to shatter globally. So what's going to happen? Well, we must compost that fiat. We must take that fiat when it still has value and turn it into things that actually have value. And I'm a fan of the precious metals. I'm a fan of decentralized stores of value. But nothing is more important to us here than actually having a food forest where any time of day, any time of year, I can walk outside of my house and I can gather within 10 minutes a huge basket of food.
Just know this, everyone. You've been programmed to consume the wrong thing. You don't consume it because it's logical or intelligent. You consume it because you've been programmed.
That's exactly right. You want me to grab it?
Here. Look.
Yeah.
All right.
So now we're going into a food forest. That one we showed you earlier was 10 months in the ground. This one has been in the ground about 20 months. And look,
it's a jungle. The last time I was here, when was that? It's doubled its growth.
Yeah.
When was that? Like 6 months?
I think so.
Okay, 6 months
ago. And look how beautiful it is. Now, people think when they hear about a food forest, they don't have a perception of what that means. So that's why when they come here and they stand in and feel the food forest, like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And then that's when they become inspired to do it themselves. Right? And that's what this is all about. This is about inspiring and empowering you to turn your yard into paradise.
It's amazing how everything new we have been programmed to fear. And guess what? It doesn't matter. It could be saving our lives, but we still have been programmed to fear it.
So this is permaculture design. So it starts with a pathway through the middle. And every different section of the pathway has a different intention, a different way of showing what's possible. And so the pathway itself is made out of seashells instead of asphalt or concrete. And those seashells, when it rains, it mineralizes the soil, puts calcium and other minerals. And then on the side here, this ground cover is called perennial peanut. Perennial peanut is a beautiful ground cover. It doesn't need to be mowed. Like, that's what it stays at that level all the time. Look at the butterfly. Isn't that pretty? Isn't that beautiful creature? Yeah. And it also fixes nitrogen into the soil. And by the way, this is so important. When we started this 20 months ago, we had a blank canvas of sand. There was no life here. It was just sugar sand, Florida sugar sand, which many people say cannot grow food. Now it's absolutely loaded with food.
Yeah, and Jim, we're halfway or more through the tour. I need you to tell people how they can actually get a free consult to see if they would like to create their own food forest out of their lawn.
Yes. So you can go on to our website. It's foodforestabundance.com, and you can sign up for a free strategy session with a professional permaculture designer. We're here to help you grow food And by the way, there's something really important in this world. In the permaculture principles, right? They are people care, earth care, and fair share. Now, the word share has been corrupted because the government and many people that believe in force and violence think that sharing should be mandatory. Well, that's just silly. That's force and violence. That's slavery. Our sharing is because it's the most logical way for us to achieve our goal, and that's peace on earth. That's food for us everywhere, for my grandkids and beyond, and for yours. Right? This is the solution that was talked about by Victor Hugo and talked about by Bill Mollison. Bill Mollison said, though the problems of our world are increasingly complex, the solutions remain embarrassingly simple. This is it. Come on.
And what about, don't they go to Galt's Landing if they want to partake on the November 11th?
Yes, actually, we're having a huge party here on November 11th with influencers, incredible influencers like Dr. Wolf and many more who will be sharing solutions to really personal individual problems that then at scale solve all the problems, right? And this is the time. People say you can't do that, it's impossible, you can't, blah, 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 blah. Those are all BS belief systems. We can, we should, and it's logical to create peace on earth. And then the next phase, and this is written in the stars, my friends, we are in that phase. The apocalypse means the great reveal, right? Anarchy simply means no ruler. This is anarchy, my friends. Peace and love and joy is anarchy. It means there's nobody above me with poisons telling me how I have to live, because this is the best way to live. So,
and where do they go? Galt'sLanding.com?
Yeah, Galt actually .farm.
.farm.
Yep. So it's GALTS landing.farm. It's $69 for the day, and it will
if you come in person.
Yeah, to come in person, and $49 for the live stream. And we will be laying out the path to freedom on really significant strategic and tactical levels.
But everyone, the path to freedom, it starts with an understanding. So understand, it is a totally selfish day. And a selfish day just means that from the moment you rise until you close your eyes, you are the master of your emotions and your physical being.
Yes. And it'll be fun as heck, too. I mean, the conversations that we're having and the people that have dedicated their lives to the solutions of these things going on right now. And we also have a documentary. We have a film crew coming, and they're going to film the whole thing. And then we're going to then put that into a documentary called The Path of Freedom. I am meeting personally with Bobby Kennedy here in 4 days to lay out to him the path of freedom and to encourage his involvement in this. I'll give you a simple example. In Florida, I'm in Florida. Their Florida state budget is $90 billion a year, right? So $90 billion. 17% of that is spent on services for public health and so on. If we just took 5% of $90 billion, that's $18 billion over 4 years. $18 billion equates to 18,000 $1 million food forest installations in the state of Florida. That's every school becomes a nursery and a teaching center for the kids and the students and for the community. Every park, every city park becomes an epic Garden of Eden food forest. Every city, everything. I mean, there's 18,000 $1 million locations. All of a sudden, Florida is completely free and food secure and healthy. It's so logical. It's freaking mind-blowing.
Too logical, too simple.
Yeah, that's the hard part for people. They want to make it complicated. The ego wants to make things complicated, and we want to hold on to our fear and our suffering and our trauma. We don't really want to. We just don't know that we don't have to. So our thing is about helping people see that the only logical way is to let go of the fear and the scarcity.
You don't know what you don't know, and you don't know you're running programs until you know that you are, and then you want to stop. And then you've got to take massive personal action if you want to find your true self.
And we happen to be, we've got a lake here. We've got the only dock on a 430-acre lake. There's a runway, a mile-long paved runway on our east that borders our property. And we are going to be we already are. World leaders are already coming here, like Dr. Wolf and many more are coming here to experience this type of lifestyle, to experience the love, the joy, the beauty, the nature, the frequency of it. You know, and I share this quote a lot, and I encourage everybody to sit with this in the presence of this concept. And Tesla said it first, and I'm going to change it a little bit because there was one word off. Tesla said, if you want to find the secrets of the universe, think in terms of energy, frequency, and vibration. I know Dr. Wolf says the same thing quite often. Well, let's take one word. If you want to find the secrets of the universe, if you want to experience health and wellness and love and joy, experience the now. Experience the frequency, the energy, the vibration of your body, your inner standing now. Bring all that inner standing. Don't look for an out-of-body experience. Go for an in-the-body experience. Everything is within, and then through that is this explosion of energy that just serves people.
If you were to actually understand that, you know, living in the present moment is the only point of power for a human being, you would then want to try and perfect something called the walking meditation, where you are walking through life, experiencing it, but not reacting to it. You want to take massive personal action, not action, reaction, action, reaction. You know what? The more trauma, drama, chaos in the world, the more that you must be centered into your breath, because that is when you're connected to your source.
Absolutely right. The breath is my favorite tool to bring awareness back inside the body. Deep breath, and then look around and feel and experience this present, this frequency. Boom. You are healed.
I am love. I am healed. I am Braveheart.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Wolf. Thank you, Lori. Beautiful.
Yeah, and then we don't need to go there, but do you want to tell them about your fish farm?
The aquaponics. Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So this land, by the way, this was a cattle pasture. It was all flat land. It was about 7 feet lower right here than it is now. So what we did is we built a 4-acre pond, 25 foot deep, right over here, and we used that material to build this land up. So what we started with was sand that was 10 feet underground. It was inert. There was no life in this sand. And then we used that pond as a major asset. Ponds are incredible. So we put 7 species of fish in the pond, and we then take the water out of the pond on a solar timer for irrigation or fertigation. Fertigation is to fertilize and irrigate at the same time. So we now have a pond that's loaded with fish, and that effluent and that water comes out and it fertigates the food forest on a timer. So it's a no maintenance food production system. In fact, this whole thing, we've done no maintenance on this in 20 months, except for a couple trims on the pathway and a couple places where we took out some competitive plants. The amount of energy input relative to mowing a lawn is probably 5%. So we save 95% of our energy, and we get exponential energy back out. Everything about annual crops, you know, I love some annuals. We got some cucumbers and some stuff planted, but almost everything here is a perennial. Perennials are plants that you plant one time and they continuously produce more abundance.
And the reason why that we don't do that is because we were programmed to.
That's exactly right.
That's
that
all.
System, yes, it is all designed for one purpose. The system is designed to control the asset, the slave.
You are not allowed to become your own supermarket.
Boom. Yes.
Why don't you tell everybody how they can get involved if they want to create their own food forest abundance in their front yard, backyard, and also about the big event on November the 11th, and also about also going to see Mr. Kennedy.
Yes. So what we've done, we've attracted an incredible group of designers, permaculture professional designers that design landscapes. They create landscape blueprints that are...
And they're all over the world, aren't they?
They're all over the world.
They're all over the world,
yes.
Everyone.
We are now helping people in 54 countries and 50 U.S. states to grow food, nature's way. So if you want to start your own, and you could have like an area, see this circle here? This is a 20-foot circle, right? In just this area, you could have 3 or 4 primary fruit trees. You could have a dozen blueberry, blackberry, strawberry, elderberry. You can have all the different berries. You can have several types of perennial lettuces that are absolutely incredible. I have a walking salad bar all over the place, right? Loaded with nutrients. So if you want to design your landscape, whether it be a tiny area or a whole country, then get a hold of us. Our permaculture designers are awesome. They're committed to their craft of helping transform this world. So it's foodforestabundance.com. It's in the link there. And then also galtslanding.farm, G-A-L-T-S landing.farm. If you want to stay here, if you want to come to the November 11th event, it's all right there.
Okay, can you finish off by telling me what this is here?
Yes. This symbolizes what we are all about. This is the farmer's arm. This is the arm of force and violence. This is the primary tool. This was developed or created, this piece of art, by Hank Willis Thomas out of South Africa, who suffered through apartheid, which is still happening all around the world, my friends. And this is us saying we shall not comply with any form of force and violence. We are here to serve, and we are also fans of all of the amendments to the Constitution. So I'm not saying that the right to bear arms and the right to free speech, they're critical. At the same time, like Gandhi said, the best way to change this is to stand stoic and in complete knowing that the solution is not violence. Violence gets more violence. If somebody is going to come at me with force and violence and try to harm me, then I will do everything I can to protect myself, but that's not the solution to the big picture. That's only the solution to a small percentage of things. So if you're, or you know anybody promoting violence on any other people, that's not the way we change the world.
Thanks everyone for joining us, and just know this, that we want you to join us. Not just join us, but join us, because we are Braveheart Nation.
Thank you, Dr. Wolf.